We've been asked a few questions on a number of subjects, actually, following the budget, particularly on pensions, but we've also been asked a few questions, some of which we have been able to answer and some of which we haven't been able to answer with certainty. And this is kind of one of them, and it's about the replacement property rules in connection with business relief. The question is, with the change to the business relief rules, i.e. you get 100% relief and an effective 0% tax rate on some business assets and 20% relief on others, determined by reference to the extent to which the £1 million allowance is available or the nature of the asset, i.e. if it is a quoted unlisted share like a name share, then of course you only get 20% relief. So the question is, well, what if you disposed of an asset that qualified now for 20%, the 20% rate of tax, not rate of relief, rate of tax, and reinvested the proceeds into an asset that qualified for full 100% relief and therefore no tax? What if you did that? Does that count as replacement property? They are both business property assets, but they don't both qualify for the same relief. We could stop here and just go, we're not sure yet because we haven't got the rules, the consultation hasn't taken place. However, if you looked at the rules as they stand, let's see if we can draw any kind of, and I stress, tentative conclusions based on what we've got. It says the replacement property, this is from the Inheritance Tax Manual, the replacement property will qualify for business relief if, number one, it replaced other business property. Well, it will in the circumstances that I've just mentioned. The original and replacement property were each owned for periods totaling 2 out of the 5 years prior to the date of the transfer, and each item of property was relevant business property, apart from the ownership test, at the time of replacement and the date of transfer. So you could say, yeah, you could probably tick all of those boxes, but how about that anti-avoidance provision that exists? So that anti-avoidance provision is in Inheritance Tax Act 84, section 107. It provides that the relief shall not exceed, so the relief that you get on the replacement property shall not exceed what it would have been had the replacement not been made. And this is summarized in the Inheritance Tax Manual 25313. It says, when the replacement property provisions apply, the Inheritance Tax 84, section 107 restricts business relief by providing that the relief shall not exceed what it would have been had the replacement or any one or more of the replacements not been made. So you will go, in these circumstances, actually, the rate of relief does effectively exceed what it would have been if the replacement had not been made. Because if the replacement hadn't been made, then I would have got 50% relief. And if I make the replacement, i.e. by disposing of assets qualifying for 50% relief and replacing them with assets qualifying for 100% relief, then I would have had slightly less relief. So that provision, IHTA 84, section 107(2), is an anti-avoidance provision, and its purpose, this is key, is to prevent a person who has qualified for relief from purchasing a much more expensive property shortly before death or making a transfer. There's a few more guidance notes on this, and the guidance notes gives instruction to the Inspector of Taxes to say if there's any indication that the deceased transferor's resources were being rearranged to considerably more extensive business property to obtain increased relief on the death transfer, you should refer the case to technical. So the key is we don't really know how this is going to be applied or what the legislation will say once it's in place to cater for situations where you do transfer out a property that qualifies for a 50% relief to property that qualifies for 100% relief. You could take an interpretation that says you have increased the rate of relief by virtue of replacing the property. The original provisions in the Inheritance Tax Manual and the Act didn't have this kind of thing in mind, because you either had business property or you didn't, and it qualified for one rate of relief, which was 100%. So I think we just have to wait and see and hope that moving from one type of business property, i.e. one that qualifies for 100% relief, to another type, even though it may be the same type of share, it's just that it's gone above the £1 million level, or it's one type of share, an AIM share, and you've invested in a different type of investment that qualifies for 100% relief because you've got some of your £1 million left, then we'll just have to wait and see. We would hope that it wouldn't, but you never know. So that's where we are at the moment. And hopefully this video has been of some help to at least highlight an issue that does need to be clarified.